when you want to start a company or an idea, if you're an entrepreneur, think about what you can do with your two hands and learn. Like, don't have that attitude of just like doing things for experience, because that's all it'll be.
What's up, guys? Mark Brazil, Jeff Cole, Ikonick podcast. Super excited today to have on my man Stephen Borrelli.
Let's go, baby.
Cuts Clothing. You know, he'll tell you a lot about himself, but he's a guy that is kind of in this circle in LA. A bunch of direct-to-consumer consumer product companies, and just great energy, great story. And if I had a bet on him, if this was a stock market, I would bet on him and his company to do great things in this world. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So we don't want to go too much into your backstory, but obviously it's very relevant to where you are today. So why don't you just tell us kind of where you grew up, what your family's like, and just start from there. And
you have 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
15 seconds.
From a small town outside of Seattle called Wenatchee. Went to San Diego State. Have a great family. Love my mom and dad.
I was kidding, by the way. You can slow down.
And went to San Diego State, and I was always into business, but didn't really know what I wanted to do out of school. So I got a job at an advertising agency. Mm-hmm. And then at that same time, Movement Watches, which is another direct-to-consumer business, was taken off, and it really sparked my interest. I really wanted to make money online. Mm-hmm. So at that time, I moved home, and I said, hey, I need to start saving money because I'm not sure what I want to do, but I know I want to do something in e-commerce. And I remember going to Lululemon and being like, oh, there's these comfortable shirts that you can wear to the workplace, but they have a weird logo on them, and they're more towards girls. And that's when the idea Cuts was born. And we sell men's shirts, mm-hmm. Direct to consumer, that have 3 different bottom cuts: a regular, split hem, and elongated. And yeah, that's the short.
Nice. So let's just frame it a little bit better for context perspective. So how old are you now, and then when did you start Cuts?
Perfect. I am 29 now.
Yep.
And when I moved home, I was 25 to 27. I call it year zeros, because it was like pre-revenue and before we launched the Kickstarter. But the business is about 2.5 years old, and we launched in 2017.
Cool.
So why Kickstarter?
We did Kickstarter we had no money.
Okay.
And what I loved about Kickstarter, and I didn't realize it at the time, was when you start a brand, there's so many things you don't think about. Like, it's all in your head, and then putting it on paper, there's a lot of things get lost from your brain when it actually is illustrated on the web. And Kickstarter forces you to think of all of those things, from the logo, from your email series, to just all the things that it takes to sell online. And it gave us a good start to just concepting the idea. We didn't raise as much money as we wanted to. We did $40,000 when we launched. It was, our goal was 15, but we ended up needing like 100 to launch. So
would you give the recommendation, yes or no, for somebody to use Kickstarter?
So 2013 through 2017, it kind of worked. Now it's much harder. Yep. I would say it is a good thing solely because it's a good way to just get money from your friends. Because like if we launched our website, there's no end date to them purchasing. So the Kickstarter said, hey, you have to make a purchase in 30 days. So you get their money fast. Yep. So even if it's just for your friends, family, and their friends, it can be a good thing just to create urgency and get those purchases.
Interesting.
And it's like, it's somewhat of like a fundraising and charity thing for you personally? Like people believe in you, like, hey, I'm gonna help you out here. Versus
You definitely cashed in on your favors with family and friends for that one, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I had a list of 100 people, and 3 months before I said, hey, here's the idea, here's the page. 2 months before I said, here's the Kickstarter group. And I had everyone join the Facebook group. And then two weeks before I said, hey, just get online and share it at 7:01 a.m. And we had 87 out of the 100 people buy at least one shirt.
You remember all those 87 people vividly, huh?
Oh, I called them each and every one of them at least 3 times.
Love it. Yeah, so it seems like you kind of, there was a very obvious problem and solution. You found white space in the market. And I think entrepreneurs are born, they're not made. Like when I met you, I knew right away, just savage, hustler. And I could just tell you're just the guy that you're going to figure it out. So I do know a bit about your backstory, Jeff, so do it in 15 seconds. But what I found interesting was...
I have one question though.
Yeah.
Were you really trying to be an actor?
Oh, wow. They went deep on my backstory.
Wow. You were listening in the other room.
Yeah, I was listening. What do you mean?
So I always envisioned me doing something in front of the camera because I just kind of liked it. In high school, there was a play called Holes. Wow, you went deep on the backstory.
I'm just a really good listener.
I literally, before you came, listened to one thing on you, and he was in the other room. I thought not listening, and he's like, yo, you shouldn't even listen, but apparently he was listening and just brought it up. Fucking random, but yeah, let's go.
And I was a freshman in high school, and there was like this play in our town, like tryouts, and me and my buddy were like, let's just go for it.
Yep.
And I went in, didn't have any practice, and then I got casted for Holes and got like one of the lead roles. I was Magnet in the play, so it was that kind of sparked me.
Like, can you?
It was like kind of singing, but it was like, I don't consider myself a good singer. I can sing like one song, "Ain't No Mountain High," and that's about it.
We're hitting Mama Borrelli to get that footage.
Yeah.
That's definitely
Cool.
that's gonna get popped up right here if we can find
it's
that.
on YouTube somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
We're definitely gonna find that.
Have you guys done any commercials where you're like in it and like front facing like movement like Jake and
we've done like we're actually getting ready for spring of 2020 to do our first like pilot test on like the direct to consumer version of a commercial. So that's in concept, but I started out with doing 10 vlogs, which is kind of like in front of the camera. I realized it was so much work, but it was good for me to, I think, look at the footage and just understand the space a little bit. Now when I give people directions on videos and stuff, I have a little bit more knowledge of how to edit and things like that, and so it's good.
So when I was looking at your backstory, the one thing I found interesting, it's similar to our concept. I actually toured the US with this hat company. That's where I did 40 states, 175 retailers. I lived on a bus, and that's where I learned retail. And I noticed that you worked at Zoomies and you worked at Nordstrom's.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what you learned working in retail.
Well, 2 weeks after I got started at Zoomies, everyone got caught stealing. So they were like, hey, you're the only person on staff. Can you be the manager? So I kind of got thrusted into this role.
And how old were you then?
16. Because you had to be 16 to start.
If resumes mattered, that would be the fucking pinnacle of all resumes. 16-year-old manager of Zoomies.
Well, it kind of helped at getting my job at Nordstrom's, because I was 18 and they typically didn't hire because the men's shoe department, you can make a lot of money for like a college kid. But the Zoomies job was great because I learned management skills. It was kind of my first try into fashion, which I liked. It was actually pretty cool though. There was a bunch of stores around, and we created like silent discos in the store. So we would all, like on Sundays, like when we opened up the stores, we'd all blast music, and we had these like videos going around of, because I don't know if you remember in Zoomies, there used to be like a TV playing in the back. Yeah. And we were like, we should do something funny for the TV. So we recorded ourselves like doing dancing as the store opened every Sunday and put it up. And it was kind of like the upper management of Zoomies was like, oh, that's genius. Like it was kind of like vlogs before vlogs for like the personal store.
Did they allow you to be entrepreneurial within the store? I guess they did.
A little bit. Like we would put out, like I would, like if there was some bad SKUs that I was like, no one's gonna buy those. Like, you remember LRG?
Of course. Yeah.
I was like oversized, big jeans. Air Force Ones are back now, but that was like the look.
2007.
You had the urban vibes, huh?
The urban vibes. Wow. Yeah. I was big LRG basketball, big basketball jerseys back then.
Love it.
Love it.
So one thing that I found about you two that I thought was very interesting, and I tell people all the time, is to call the customers And obviously you said it already, you called those 87 of 100 people. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with your customers and what you guys do to really make them feel special.
Well, we had 435 backers for Kickstarter, and I hand wrote a note personalized to each one of them, and it took me like 2 weeks. Me and Carter, who was my first guy that brought on, we were in the back room just writing hand notes, and I think that showed a lot of like initially that we really were going to listen to our customers, and they really meant a lot to us. And the first 1,000 customers, everyone got a phone call. That was big for me, and I really think it spearheaded our success because we focused on just those first 1,000.
One by one, brick by brick.
Brick by brick.
What kind of questions did you ask them? Because I think that's the most important thing, is what you asked those people who've already purchased.
I tried to not get too specific. I said, hey, what did you think? Like, what do you think of the process? And some people would say, you know, I would have to dig a little bit because a lot of people would be like, hey, Steven, I'm so proud of you, blah, blah, blah. Or, hey, you know, I like the shirt. But I think it was, I would try to purposely call like after they had the product for like a month or
see how it washes and stuff like that.
See how it washes. Like, I mean, we actually learned.
Which it washes amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My
I thought it'd be cliche if I wore the shirt on set. Would that have been weird or no?
We actually, Mark inspired me to create a box cut that's a little month behind, but he's gonna have you guys will all have a full closet.
Love it.
There we go.
Wow, you really took that.
Yeah.
You took that all the way down the path. Good shit.
But when customers, we found out through our customers, we were washing it with like this weird silicone back in the day because it made it softer.
Yep.
But for a tri-blended shirt, it's like a big no-no. It's like, don't do it. And we had no clue about it because some random guy off of Martin Luther King Boulevard was like, yeah, wash those silicone, it'll be extra soft. And through our Kickstarter, we learned that through them. And then we started, we avoided a huge problem in our next PO just by, you know, listening to them.
What I found really interesting too is when I was looking you guys up online, you actually give by each percentage the breakdown of how your shirt is made, from X% spandex, X% cotton, under the notion that it's all about brand, that you guys are just going to win on brand. And for me, that's one of the things that I've seen with you guys is there's obviously other t-shirt companies. How important do you think brand is now where the cost to acquire a customer is getting more expensive?
I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's everything.
Yep.
You know, before we started, it was really hard when I moved home, and I would tell people I'm starting this t-shirt company. They were like, you're 25, moved home, and you started a t-shirt company.
Yep.
And you know, I'd be like, I see the vision here that we're gonna call it cuts, and we're gonna give people different bottom choices of hems, and you know, we focus on brand and showing the customer that these shirts are different, and investing in them, and content with like Matt Como that launched today, Jeremiah, Alan Palander. We've worked with a bunch of baseball players because I think people see themselves in those who represent it. And I know Gymshark does a really good job with this, and of always partnering with people that are like-minded. And now more than ever, customers are dying for, which is why Yes Theory is doing so well, is they want to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. So if you just pump product online, anyone can do that and have some initial success, but the way you're going to able to spearhead that growth is all through brand.
Completely agree.
I have a question. Do you guys ever put out videos on how to properly wash your clothing? Because no one's doing that.
We're not doing it now, but how-to videos is one of the things we want to start doing.
He needs some help with that.
I do.
How to properly wash clothes.
Actually.
Well,
I'm nervous to dry anything.
Yeah, that'd be a good
I don't
video.
dry anything.
That would be a
good
good
marketing.
video.
Yeah, just
How-tos. Well, it's part of our upcoming YouTube strategy, because one of the big reasons people go on YouTube is they try to find, like, you know, how to lift better or how to cook. So that could fit in line. We're going to have a styling video, how to style with like Air Force Ones, our shirts, or how to style with Chelsea boots. Because guys, you know, we're seeing that they don't necessarily know, like, all of us are stylish, like fashion guys, but there's a lot of guys out there that are like, you know, not versed in that.
or even how to
We're doing
iron.
a 6-month update. I want to see those videos in 6 months. That's a good idea, bro.
And iron your
6 months,
shirts.
yeah.
Let's do an ironing classes. Like,
I don't know how to iron.
Sponsored by
I have no
Ikonick.
idea how to iron.
We can't iron our shirts because they have polyester in them, but we do.
Well, you should invent a new iron. This is the time.
We want to create a steamer and sell a steamer, or like
like it.
how Drake did a a really classy lint roller. Like what one of a customer win back is if anyone who didn't purchase after 3 months after ordering one, we're gonna send them. And this is we
your
haven't
shirt
done
must
this
be
yet.
filthy. Here's a
Here's
a lint roller.
I'm actually a huge lint brush guy. Sell me some lint brushes.
There we go. Like with like a nice handle.
Yeah,
Anything. It needs to work well.
that'd be a funny
like
quote on there. Like your shirt must be filthy. After you,
Perfect.
So, as you could tell with so me and Jeff have two very complementary skill sets. The second I met you and Sean, I knew right away from a partnership perspective that, I mean, you guys were blessed that you found, I mean, I could just tell his brain works differently than yours. I've never met Carter before, but I think a big thing that I want just to share with all the entrepreneurs is the importance of finding a good partner and having complementary skill sets. I could never imagine, doing a company and leading it just one man. People think people forget with Apple that it was Steve Jobs and Wozniak. It's one guy always flows through, but it's usually a team of two or three. So why don't you just talk about just partnerships and what it means to your business?
So it started in the inception. We got 435 Kickstarter backers, and I'm not like an Excel guy or math guy. My mind doesn't work like that. And I was writing down, all right, they ordered a crew elongated, a crew split, like on a tab. And then Carter comes over. He was an accountant at the time, and he's like, hey man, let me just take this over for you. Didn't ask for anything, was like, I'm just down to help. And then quickly I started realizing what a huge asset he was. And then similar when Sean came on, Sean was working at Boeing in their data department, and he was also going to school for his master's degrees in data science. Yep. And he was like, hey, like, I'm going to make your Facebook ads way better. Let's just run a test. And we ran a test, and it was like, we sold out of what he wanted, because, he helped with our purchasing and then also our targeting. And I think that was really the light bulb moment. Like, let me do creative product development and acquisition, and these guys do data and finance. And I think that core that we started with is really where we are, because we haven't taken outside money, and we've just really had to be efficient with every dollar. And I have to give Carter and Sean all the credit for that. Yeah. And it's when I see young teams and they're like fighting. You guys probably see this all the time. I'm like,
why?
Those founders aren't the right ones.
Yep.
I mean, you guys seen examples of that where?
Yeah, I mean, me and Jeff, we bicker and make fun of each other, but I love him like a brother. And I think the big thing is just the self-awareness play. I do the business, he does the creative. He's become a little bit more, he's into business more, and then creative.
Which is frustrating for him,
Yeah. It's not get out of here.
Just me coming up in the ranks.
He doesn't want to admit.
He's climbing.
He doesn't want to admit I've come up with a couple bangers creative. I have some good ideas. And he doesn't.
What are they?
He doesn't want me involved. But then I get involved, and I add a little spice on top.
Sometimes you got to throw that.
Little bit of spice. On top.
I'm down as you can go for 12. That's fine.
What about the heart pump in the ET video at the end? Just that little hit at the end. We're gonna pop that up. It's just a little spice. It's a little bit. It's a little bit better. 1% better.
How can you measure the ROI of that?
You can't. How can you measure the ROI of your ideas in business?
What do you mean?
You can't. They're good founders for each other, because you need to be able to like make fun of each other to be good.
Yeah, we definitely do. So self-awareness. That's the other thing I really noticed with you guys.
Fucking guy.
When we were sitting, let's first rewind for a second. So when I heard about Steven, I got introduced to Steven through the grapevine. We all kind of know a ballpark of how much revenue everybody's doing. He's doing well. You guys were really bootstrapping. You were working in WeWork. Yeah. Still.
At that point.
So you guys just got a new office. Tell us about that and like work environment. What's that like now?
So it first started, I was at, so there's like let me rewind. You're going to have to recut that. Yeah. There's 4 of us. Yeah. And it started just with me at WeWork, and then everyone else was working from home almost up until 8 months ago. And it was funny when Mark came on, he goes, wow, you guys are pushing numbers in this WeWork. The first thing he said when he walked up. And
so it started basement, you by yourself in WeWork.
In my parents' basement.
Yep.
Then I moved here, and I just worked at my apartment, and then I was like, that's not for me. Then I moved to WeWork, and I was in this like tiny little 1x1. Then 2 months later, I was in a 1x2, and we were doing our returns and exchanges in that office. Damn. And like hustling and getting them in and sending them out. It was a nightmare. Then we moved into like a 4x4. because our packet, mainly just to have room for our packages in WeWork, which is what you saw.
Yeah.
And it was like just shit everywhere. And then Sean came full time, and then Carter, and then Brennan. And then we moved out and we finally got our own little space. And it's been, I think that was the coolest part. We have a conference table now.
Yeah.
And we have
Makes you appreciate those things.
Yeah, it's been such a, like, even that, I feel like just that accomplishment is like really what I dreamed about 3 years ago. Just to be able to come to work every day, have a team that I'm not doing everything, and guys excited to be there. And like sometimes I have to pinch myself and be like, regardless of how much money I make or don't make, like just being able to do that and having appreciation for that is so special to me.
For everybody watching, a great takeaway is, his company is done in the millions, and with 4 key players, you're saying that a bunch of those key players weren't even full time.
We did, several million with just me full time, because we had no choice.
No excuses.
We had,
wow,
because we had to take the money we were making, and the profits were good, but they weren't like crazy. So the profits we had to go back into business. I mean, and then each 4 of us, we all had $25,000 credit cards that had 0% interest for 12 months, so we could always pay it off. So that was $100,000 worth of money that we like was our funding to start, because no banks would give us money at the time. And then that was able to get us to like, getting a line from Chase, and then from Shopify Capital, and now we have like hundreds of thousands from different sources. But it started just kind of with like a lot of risk, like 25,000 at 18% interest. If we didn't pay it month over month, could have been tough, but we were able to sell it and pay it off before it was ever due.
So let's talk about the eating shit moments now, the low moments, because I think a lot of people only see the good, they don't see the bad. Obviously, taking a $25,000 loan in itself is a huge risk. But let's talk about just some failures, some rock bottoms. Is there any moment, whether it be in your life or in your career with Cuts, where, let's just say, a lesser man would have quit? Because, for me in my head, there's just moments in my life where I could say that if I wasn't as mentally strong, like a sane human would have quit. But my just passion and love for the business just kept it going. Is there any moments in your mind that are like, wow, like this is a bad fucking spot?
So in the first 2 years, I felt like it was every month there was something testing me. In the 0 years before we really like even got on Kickstarter. But the biggest one I can remember is right after we launched our Kickstarter. We had 40,000, and we're like, God, all right, we're stoked. And then the units get to our DC, and the Henleys are like sideways. And we had like, I think we had like 3,000 or 4,000 units total. And like all the Henleys, at least like 800 units were sideways. And then they were missing all of like the crew neck split hem. So everyone that ordered a crew neck, they were just gone. And we were,
This is in the beginning when you're strapped for cash.
We took all that money to pay for these units. We had no more cash.
Ooh, keep going.
And so me and Carter go back to the guy who made them, and we're like, hey man, like what happened to these? And he's like, oh no, we shipped them. And then our DC's like, the packing list, they're not here. Like they didn't get lost in transit. That doesn't,
Yep.
And he just goes, sue me, the guy. So total shady business person. And it was like over $10,000 or $12,000 worth of product. I mean, at the time, that was everything.
Yep.
And I just look at Carter. I was like, we got to figure out a way to get this. We can't sue him because we don't have more money and
more time.
It's just gonna be crazy. And so the funny part is we ship those units out. We just mix and match units to our Kickstarter backers.
Wow.
And then that's when the phone calls came in big. I kind of I had to explain to all these people like, hey. I promise I'll make it right one day, but this is what you got for now. Wow. And so we had to ship people not what they ordered.
Right,
what percent of those customers?
Do you regret that now, or like?
I actually
because that's like ballsy.
It was pretty much our only move.
Yeah,
we didn't have another move, and I remember
how bad were they though?
The first protos were horrible.
Like, do you wish you could be like, all right, scrap that. We're gonna spend another 12 and do it over?
I wish we could have, but we had to just get rid of them and then order a new PO because we needed more customers. Like we had to like put those orders to bed almost.
You have to keep going that way.
Because if we would have said scrap those, we're going to send you new ones, then the new product wouldn't have made us any profits because it would have just gone to making up for the loss.
Yep.
So then we would have been like, we had each PO in the beginning, we were faced with like do or die for the first like 6 POs probably. Like if one of those mores went sideways, we would have been out. But the cool part was, I told each and every one of them, I said, hey, if we're going to make this up. And then about a year ago, I posted on our Kickstarter page and said, hey, I know we messed up. I'm going to give everyone 2 shirts.
Ooh, boss move.
And
baby.
I was like, here's a code.
Boss move.
And they just bought them. And everyone was like, I think they were like, man, this guy really, he
cares.
He cares.
That's the big thing.
And it was like almost 1,000 units just for free out the door.
But you can't put a price on what that does for you as far as customer loyalty goes. It's so funny. It's when you get in those shitty positions, that's the best opportunity for you.
You got to tell me yours now.
Mine? What, the shittiest situation ever?
I know you guys have some.
I mean,
I think it's more legal stuff.
I was in.
Well, here's the thing. We don't have inventory, so a lot of that friction we don't really deal with.
That's
but
epic. That's so epic.
For us, it's more IP, I think.
I mean, as of 2 days ago, I was on the phone with a lawyer for 30 minutes. We might be getting sued over something.
How big is
That's
your
what I'm saying.
lawyer
We
base?
might be getting sued over something.
It's insane.
What's up, guys? Yeah, I mean, it happens. But for me, with stuff like that, I just look at it as a learning experience where, I'm on the phone with the lawyers and I'm just asking questions, secondary questions. I mean, there could be a potential.
Don't try and throw that in the air.
I'm not putting it out there. I'm just saying there's a 20% chance that something could go down there.
You and your percentage chances never work out.
When I was
Which is actually good.
When I was 28, I went $30,000 in credit card debt. Yeah, that was bad. That was a long time of trying to get out of there. Just being behind the 8 ball was really bad.
But it taught you how to manage your money.
That's what it's all about, man. It's so funny because the situation that you were in with all those customers, if you didn't make that call, that could have been the death of your business. And people just don't understand years later, you giving them not only 1 shirt, giving them 2 shirts. Like, people don't understand from a strategic level how brilliant that is. And
I think it actually, the hurt, it actually helped more.
Yep.
Like we not when we see customers now and we make a mistake, they miss their package. I always tell our customer service team, I'm like, that's when we win our best.
You should
That's
make a
when
video
story
about that.
creates it.
No, I'm serious. You should make a video like you should be wearing the shirt. Like this was the shirt you were wearing. Like
I
it
gotta
was
show
wrong,
you guys.
like
It was horrible. I mean, it was like a Henley like sideways. The button was like there were strings, and I remember looking at Carter and being like, so it's actually funny. I drove down to our DC and like, cause you know how everything's in the DC, you have like, there's like a UPC. I was like, hey, we're going to scrap all the UPCs. I'm just going to like look at the package, dump it. And I'm going to grab our inventory and just put random shirts, as long as it's the same size, just get it in. And people were kind of upset. There were some people that were like, screw this company, it's fake. And there was nothing you can do. And that's kind of another lesson that I learned was, in business, there's going to be times like you're not going to make everyone happy.
Yep.
You make your best foot forward to make it right. And then if they're still not happy, next.
Yep.
Just next.
oh yeah.
There's not always the right answer solution. And for me, again, it was one of the things that I saw with you really quickly is you just enjoy the process of just figuring it out. That's just so much fun, is just knowing that like there's no correct way to do it. You just got to figure it out.
Totally.
And as long as you don't quit, then you're good to go.
I always write my passwords down. I've said this in a couple other podcasts, but figure it out was my password for the first like 2 years in the business. Just to always remind myself like, hey, that's what a startup is, like figuring it out. I think what makes great startups is the ability to think agile and think differently and see something kind of with this quote.
There's 100 people logging in your Shopify right now.
Love it.
Love it.
So do you think entrepreneurs are born or mid?
They're born.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think they're 1,000,000% born. I just think that at the core of every entrepreneur, you need to just understand. I think you need to understand sales and be self-aware. If you're not doing the selling, you have to be self-aware enough to make sure that somebody on your team knows how to sell. And like for me, again, when I was doing due diligence on you, it's just like you were like selling like apples when you were like 14 or 15.
When I was, my dad, I'm so glad he did this. In Wenatchee, there's a big apple and produce community. And my dad works in that space. And when I was 14, he was like, you're working this summer. So that's when
Your dad's the man, bro. I'm gonna have my kids working early for everything.
And he,
Did you not work when you were a kid?
I worked at, my first job was Sports Authority. I worked for a week and then I got fired and then I sold
What age though?
Cutco knives. Freshman in high school.
Okay.
That's still good though. Freshman year, that's
No, but he started you at 14. That's boss moves.
it was for.
You were an adult when you were
It was like
17.
six or 8 weeks, and I was picking out good and bad cherries on the line. But it was kind of fun though, because it was me and my friends. I get my friends to do. We make $100 a day. So at that time,
Crazy.
and they would give us cash. So it was really good, like mental.
Yeah.
Like you work, you get paid.
Yep.
You work, you get paid. And
Well, it's funny. It's just to stop you. I was listening that you were an umpire, and it's so funny that like
wow,
all
I
the
did it.
kids-
I was a soccer ref.
yeah,
Wow, I love
all the
that.
kids growing up when I was like a little kid, and they were umpires. I'm like, oh my god, like I can't believe they're trying to make money like being a kid. I always thought it was like the craziest thing.
Where
when
did
I
you
was-
dig for the umpire?
Bro, I'm just in my room over here
Ah.
just listening. You know?
I was always like big strike zone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make these kids swing.
How much money did you make during that? Because I always wondered. I was like,
Behind the plate, you made like between $60 and $80 a game.
I was
bro, that's a
60 bucks a
lot
game
for.
roughing.
It was a lot.
How old? I forgot how old. What is that?
I was like
junior high, high school.
junior high school, yeah. And we were like, we would throw dads out just for fun.
Yeah.
I love
like
it.
just we would get animated with them, and there was like a big meeting to get like me and like my squad of umpires out.
Yeah.
But the umpire like backed us up because it was like these kids, they got to learn to swing and be active.
I was super fresh with the parents and kids when I
Yeah.
was reffing. That was my world.
Yeah, it kind of teaches you like. Yeah, it was fun. I still miss those days. Were fun.
Oh, God. So another big thing with you and kind of this community in LA is we're always, the second that we see each other, it's always kind of, what are you doing? What are you seeing? What's working? What distribution channel? What partnerships? How are you framing these deals? A big thing for me, I mean, between me and Jeff does not read. Jeff watches videos and he consumes. Me, I read books. That's just how I consume. And then obviously doing it myself is the best teacher. How do you learn and what do you consume? Because every time I see you, it's I see that you're going in the right direction. So
I get on. I listen to a ton of different podcasts. I'm like Jeff. Like I think I have a little ADD in me
Yep.
where it's like hard for me to actually read. There was a time in my life when I was working at the advertising agency that I would read at my desk because I was bored. But right now, I'm all about experiential learning. So just listening to like bios of people and trying to take little nuggets. One of the ones I love right now is The Corp with A-Rod.
I love it. Did they just start season 2 yet or no?
Season 2,
They
yeah.
did?
Ty Henney one is really good that I just listened to. She runs Outdoor Voices, and they're a $1 billion business in 6 or 7 years. And I always tell my team, like, look at this example for us.
Yep.
Like, this is a girl who just wanted it. You know, granted, she's raised like millions and millions of dollars, but you know, they figured it out. They have a great product, a great mission, and listening to her was like it re-inspired me. Now that we have a team for the first time, it's just not the four of us, that I need to really focus and hammer in our vision to them every single day.
Love it.
Because the four of us, you know, Brennan included in there, and Chance, we had 2 years to let it fester and grow.
Yep.
Now when you bring someone in, you would be a bad leader if you thought, hey, they're going to get it in one day.
Yeah, it takes time.
So Ty Henney's podcast, she's always just hammering home their vision. You know, it's inspiring me to really think about that.
We're going to put that link in the bio as well. Another really great episode. Have you seen the Kobe Bryant on there?
Oh, I loved it.
Kobe Bryant and Michael Rubin on the Corp. Amazing podcast.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
that's the podcast. What about a book? Is there one book that you recommend?
So one of the first books I ever read that meant the most to me was, have you guys read The Defining Decade by Meg Jay?
I have not.
I think it's more for like 22 to 25 year olds, but I love, like, there's so many little nuggets in there that really will get your mind thinking about your 20s. And one of the biggest things for me is if you make a mistake when you're in your 20s, if you look at your life when you're 70, is and then you compare it to a plane flying from New York to LA. If you make a mistake in the beginning, it's going to take you a way lot longer to get to LA. But if you make a mistake at the end or along the way, it's going to be just a quick reroute and you're there. So thinking, really giving your 20s the weight and it deserves, because a lot of people are like, oh no, screw around, do this or that, you know, not really think about it, have fun, which I think you need experiences in your 20s, which is so important, but you also need to think like, what do I want my life to look like when I'm 70? That result of that can come from just good preparation and thinking. Like, I know a lot of people that are want to say, hey, I want to make $1 million. Well, all right, what are you going to do to make you $1 million? What is it going to do today? You know, you're probably not going to be an employee somewhere if you want to make $1 million. So you're going to have to start something. And then it puts you down the right path. And I think for me, when I read that book, was part of the reason why I started Cuts. I was, you know, working at an advertising agency, and I was like, I think the most I could make here would be like 80 or 100. And money's not everything, but it was like, you know, it's important to really, like, I want to be able to provide for my family.
But I think it's important to get a lot of things out of your system.
Agreed.
You know, I think that
100%.
Because a lot of people like Gary, just example, his one regret is not doing more stuff in his 20s. But I think that was an important part of my journey is you know, fucking up and doing all this dumb shit in my 20s. So I can see where, you know, that makes sense. But for a lot of people, they just got to get out of their system. Yeah. And so like, oh, I did that, I'm over it, type of thing.
Take this. I went to San Diego State and I got everything out of my system those 4 years. We had we had so much fun there. That's all I had. That's all we had. But I feel you 100%.
Yeah. So do you think did you come up with Cuts under the realization when you were working at this advertising agency saying, hey, I can do this better, or I don't want to do this, or I see what they're doing good, what they're doing bad, and I want to do it my way? Is that when it really hit that, like, hey, I need to do my own thing? It was there?
Totally. I mean, we were there, and I was working under the branding campaign, and Chad Farmer and Nick Lambesis. If you have ever read the book, Malcolm Gladwell, what's
Tipping Point?
Tipping Point.
Yep.
Chapter 5 or 7 is about Chad Farmer and their experience
They're in
with
the
Airwalk. Yeah. It's the Airwalk chapter where they talk about where they just seated people. It's like influencer marketing before.
Wow.
And he was my direct boss. So he was crazy, like old school advertising agency. Like you had to work till 8 p.m. And then like if we were launching to Dasani water, you were working all night. It was that's just how it was. But everyone at the time was wearing like these type shirts with nice jeans and pants. And I was like, let's do something here. So, but that's when it was born.
So you were a Lululemon guy before this?
Lululemon, but I didn't like necessarily their style. I love their 5-year basic shirt.
That's where I think that you guys doing those videos where you're stylizing it, I think that's going to be huge. Just painting the picture for people before so they see how it looks.
These guys are geniuses.
I think that's going to be good for you.
No, that's the one thing I hate about like I've been researching backpacks for like a couple of weeks, and literally I'm getting fed the same creative, and I'm like, dude, if they just put out a video, I'm like, why? Like an actual video that it's not so salesy. Like everything is just so straightforward. Like here's our backpack, and here's what it looks like in all the different angles. I'm like, you have to disguise all your creative now, as if it's either coming from someone else, or you're just completely adding different value,
or it's just solely storytelling.
Let me ask you guys a question. I feel like Ikonick does, like you guys are setting the standard for us of how to do content. I always love watching videos, and we need to do such a much better job like you. What in content are you guys seeing that has really worked for you in the last 6 months? Because I know things change so fast.
Ironically enough, this is just like a huge cheat code.
Don't do it.
Let's just
I don't know if we want to release our cheat codes.
Sometimes the big budget, expensive stuff, it doesn't convert. Organic and authenticity is what does best with creative.
You have to be really crafty. Like what I was just saying, you literally have to disguise it so well nowadays, where it's almost like you have to play on human psychology, where it's like,
you can't plan to make something go viral. So you'd be surprised what you can do. Ironically enough, in the beginning, I mean, we were crushing it with 0 burn rate, and like Jeff on his iPhone was doing all the photos and all the videos, and ironically that was working. And then kind of in this middle hump as we're building our company, we're doing these like lavish videos, and then when we're looking from a paid acquisition standpoint, they're not really achieving what we want. And then ironically enough, in this little kind of circle of people that we talk to, it's everyone kind of knows now at this point that the big budget rich stuff, it doesn't resonate with the average human. It doesn't look real. And people need to, they need to be able to feel like that they can have this, it needs to be real.
I was with, maybe I won't say his name because he wouldn't want it on the pod, but this guy that was working for a big agency, and they took on a client, and they said they gave him $140,000 budget.
Yeah.
They made the video with 2 guys in New York for less than 25. So it was like, yeah, that kind of proves that.
Bro, I can make it with $0, bro.
Yeah.
$0. I can
phone.
edit it on my phone.
It's
like,
wild, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We were just in Hawaii, and I wanted him to edit my sky, and then him and Rory and one of
That
our
trip looked unreal.
and one amazing
Yeah.
and one of our video guys. They just found an app that it just not only did it make skies for you. You can touch on this more since you know, but it made skies for you, and then it looked like someone put in Photoshop work around it where it actually made sense. There's an app
You
for
can do
like
anything,
$2
yeah.
where you can just make these crazy skies. It's fucking mind blowing
Yeah.
nowadays.
It's
Let's talk about advice now. Advice, okay? Best piece of advice you've ever gotten, and from who?
Ooh, putting me on the spot. I forget who this was. I think it might have been, it was a book I read. So maybe this isn't Simon Sinek.
Yep.
His book where he talks about just starting.
Yep.
I think for me, sometimes I think as I am in my 3rd year of business, I need to remember that again.
Yep.
About new initiatives is just start, like this pod. You guys are like, all right, we're just going to do it. Let's go.
Yep.
Like that attitude of business and embracing beginnership. That's from Ty Henney's. She talks about embracing beginnership.
Yep.
And as you build and as you grow, maintaining being a beginner, and there's a lot of power in it. For us, we just hired our full-time production guy, and he's like, why would you put a V-neck with an elongated? I've never seen that before. And that was us just being beginners and being like, oh, this is cool. Let's make a shirt like that.
Yeah, why not?
And it's what made us special. So just starting is big. And my one piece of advice from my mom and dad is they always spoke, hey, Steven, you're going to grow up to do great things.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed that I was going to be someone.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was, but I remember thinking like when I was in college and I was in and out of jobs, and I was like, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to make it. And it's really because like, since I was like 4 years old, my mom and dad were always like, you're going to do great things in life. You're going to, my mom, every time I went to school before I left the minivan we had, she goes, you're going to do great things. And I think for me now, telling that to our employees and whoever I meet, whether it's you guys, Blake, just breathing life into people, because there's not enough of that.
Yep.
And you can really have an effect on someone's life, just telling them you're going to do great things.
You're a real one. I completely agree with that. You had the hardworking dad and a really nice mom. That was the situation, right? Like one of those?
My mom stayed at home and my dad worked his ass off.
I just got the sweet mom, and then the crazy work ethic. That was the same thing. And they just always told me, just believe, you're going to do great things.
Mm-hmm.
It goes a long way.
It does. It's like simple, but I think it's really what can change someone's life. It's just that, over and over again.
Yeah. Everyone loves to be told that, and everybody loves compliments.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of the situation. So Cuts Clothing, where do you see it going? Let's talk a year from now, 5 years from now. What does it look like?
So I always I have a little sign that I wrote that has a B.
Mm-hmm.
And
Woo!
I say, and Ty Henney's a great example. Actually, going back to that last question, before when I was working Apple sales, this is when I was working for my dad at home. For a little bit, I worked in San Diego at this WeWork type place. And I remember I talked to the guy who owned the building, and I go, oh, I'm only 22. I'm just doing things to get experience. It should be good. And he goes, and he stops me and he's like, kids like you have billion-dollar companies. Kids like you are really changing the world. Like, don't have that attitude of just like doing things for experience, because that's all it'll be. Change the way I looked about anything that I did. And
in what context? Now, it's not about experience. It's about what? Taking actionable skill sets off of it?
For example,
learning?
a lot of kids nowadays, I just want to put something on my resume.
Oh,
and I'm
resume.
like,
fuck resumes.
And that's kind of that was what my mindset was. Like, oh, let me get a bunch of things on my resume so I can show it to someone, versus like really trying to learn. That might have been one of the most impactful like side conversations that really made me think as in my early 20s. But for Cuts, going back to what Ty Henney said in their vision is, we're going to be $1 billion brand one day.
Ooh, love it.
Like, that's what we're signing up for. And everyone coming in, I tell them when they get hired, we're creating $1 billion brand, because I believe it can be so possible. And like Gary Vee says, you need a cloud goal.
Yep.
That's in the clouds. We're so far from that.
Yep.
But that's what we're here for. Mm-hmm. So I don't know when that's happened. I don't want to give that a time, but we're going to get there. And then, 5 years from now, we want to really dominate the work leisure space for men. We think there's a big gap in the market. If there's athleisure, which is very gymmy and fitness driven, the workspace has changed forever. There's a macro trend where guys like me and you are wearing comfortable, simple clothes to the work environment. A lot of people work from home. They're not going into the office, so we want to make clothes for them. And so that's like the more micro goal in the next 3 to 5 years.
Do you guys see yourself going into more product mediums that fit that work and leisure, or maybe like do women's? Are you thinking? You guys ever think about women's?
Maybe, but I think for us, like I always say, do what you know.
Yeah.
And like we don't necessarily know women's great. It would take a large investment of hiring women designers, and like we inherently know the men's product because it's all guys in the office. We actually have our customer service girl now, she's amazing. But I think for the next 1 to 2 years, really getting into like, I don't know if I want to say it, but other things. We're close to 2 other things.
Love it. Yeah, it's funny you say that because people always ask us who our customer is. And for me and Jeff in the beginning, we literally were just making art for us. And I feel like it's the same with you guys. Like you had an issue. Lululemon wasn't working for you. You wanted something for you. And I feel like just all of you guys obviously love the shirts, wear the shirts every day. And you're just building products that you guys love. Mm-hmm. And makes things easier.
And I think that was our secret to our success is like, and that was back to like the beginnership line that Ty Henny always says is, if you just make something for you and then you and your friends, like your close group of circle, you just have to find more friends. Exactly. And that's all what social media did in those first 1,000 people.
One. Yep. Snippet alert.
Yep.
Snippet.
Nice little try.
That was a good one.
I completely agree.
Right, should we talk about the piece now? So you picked out this piece in the beginning when he got here. And this is actually one of my favorite quotes too, just because it actually means so many different things. Mm-hmm. So why did you pick this piece? This piece is called Cards You're Dealt. So yeah.
I absolutely love this one. I love the design of it. But if you can't change the cards you're dealt, change how you play your hand. What I love about that is, when I started Cuts, I think, let me back up one sec. Before I started Cuts, I wanted to create this app that was Who, What, Where is what it was called. And it was for, like, if you saw a cool couch on Modern Family, you could buy that couch. Mm-hmm. And I remember like spending so much time and figuring out how to like make an app. And I realized like the cards I was dealt, like I was not an app guy. So like I could spin my wheels.
I did the same thing that you did.
I was like, I'm not an app guy. So it's just that. So then
How long did you spend plotting this and not going to market? I spent like 6 months of my life.
I mean, almost a year. It was such a waste of time.
You learned how to build a business plan though? That's what I did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I learned about LLCs and how to build a business plan, and I never went to market.
And it got my entrepreneurial mindset going. And I remember meeting with like people in LA, and they were like, and like it was so many moving parts that I thought I physically couldn't do that. So I always tell people, if the first thing you should start of when you want to start a company or an idea, if you're an entrepreneur, think about what you can do with your 2 hands and learn. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be hammer and nail jobs, but like what you can actually physically learn from YouTube videos or talking to people. But like learning, I guess that could apply for me building an app, but I thought that's not my skill set. Yep. So if I change how like I played my hand in Cuts, I created something that I could
you could win.
That I could win.
And what was that? What did you realize to pivot? Because like for me, it was like I wanted to be an NBA player, but I was this short Jewish kid and wasn't that good. So what did I do? Now I'm like, all right, well, I'm a good artist, so I'm going to start designing NBA player and like sports type stuff.
That's amazing.
So it's like changing like almost your circumstance. And actually there's an amazing quote. I don't know if you guys saw, like that Stephen A. quote. I don't know. Oh, he's actually the American dream.
Oh, yeah, I just saw that.
I
This is
loved it.
this is a great example of that. It's almost like a hard work beats talent. Like Stephen A. Like you're only born like you can't learn how to be LeBron James.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I think like this is such a a great quote for like literally everything. Almost anyone. Like everyone can look at this quote and be like, I have a story about myself, like, and how kind of I changed my circumstance. You know.
Love it. Comes in red too. Pick it up.
This is a heater. Everyone should have this hanging up.
I love it. So let's do a couple more questions, then we'll wrap it up. So
I love it. I could go forever.
I could go forever. I mean, how long are we right now? About how long?
Probably about
An hour. There you go.
Fire.
Wow, it feels like it's been like 10 minutes. This shit's it's really interesting being on the other side asking the questions. I kind of like it. You like it? I like it.
It's fine. It's the same to me.
I like it. It's just a conversation.
I like being asked questions just because it's easier.
There you go. So big thing is network. Let's talk about network right now. So how important is network?
I mean, for me, I think I'm a great example of, Movement Watches was like, they were pioneers in the direct-to-consumer space, and I was the guy that was around them. I was very blessed to see them. Movement Watches, so everyone knows what I'm talking about, is a direct-to-consumer watch brand that was started by Jake Hassan, Kramer, LaPlante, and their first two employees were Blake Pencer and Spencer Stumbaugh, who were my college best friends, roommates, and
I would pay to go back in time and just party with you. That was probably
I mean, we raged for we would go to SWAT Vegas, like my senior year ended
wow,
with SWAT Vegas and Coachella and 3 back-to-back weekends.
I heard San Diego State is the most reckless spot of all time.
I put it this way, I'm just so glad I was the last generation. My junior year we got Instagram, but that freshman sophomore year when it was just heinous, there was nothing. Like there was like photos and they would be on Facebook, but it wasn't like it is now. Like kids now, like I don't know how you party.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about what that would be.
Dude, I might not be here.
Yeah. So these are guys obviously that you have a long-standing friendship with. But what we said off camera before, one of your buddies is he's just doing more revenue than you, and you guys are looking at each other's Shopify, and it's just super inspiring to be surrounded by people that you're not looking at them and jealous, but it's just like it just pushes you to go harder. Yeah.
Because I think like for me and you, we could go in other circles that aren't founders and be like, look at all this revenue I'm doing, and that doesn't.
You know what's funny about that? It's actually this is a good point because like. Whenever someone's doing more on Shopify, I actually don't get jealous, and I just figured out why.
I love
it. It's literally because we know how much work as founders puts into a company. So you're not like, oh, I'm so jealous because he got it so easy. Like we know like what goes to like if you're at that number, like we know exactly how you got there. So there's like literally no jealousy. It's literally just you're just inspired, and you're like
it's inspection and learning mode for me. It's,
100%.
It's what are you doing that I'm not doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean. Just meeting with Mark and J. Cole, right?
It's I first was J. Cole before J. Cole, so it's bullshit.
His name is Jeffrey Cole. What's your name? What's your name? Ross?
Ryan.
What's
yours? Milton?
Wilson.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Milton.
Wow.
I couldn't picture myself being a Milton.
Yeah, you're not a Milton.
It's close. Wilson is close to Milton.
Your first name's Wilson?
My middle name is Wilson. It's my dad's name. I'm happy I'm with Mark. Wilson's a little. I like Will, but Wilson's a little.
It's funny.
Shaky.
My older sister, our last name was Borrelli, and we're always like we have like it.
Isn't it a gun?
What's that?
Isn't Borrelli a gun too?
It's
the name of a gun.
And it's like there's like Borrellis, which is like rims on a car. Too.
Oh yeah, is that a company?
There is a company, or it's like spelled differently, but my sister just married a Wilson, and we're like, damn, you got to go from Borrelli to Wilson. That's tough.
I like it as a last name. I just don't like it as a first name.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. Yeah. Okay, so network. Let's wrap up on that. So, talk to us about just how you interact with all of your friends, what that looks like, and just what it means that how important it is your circle.
I think it's everything. One of my good buddies started Liquid IV. And when I moved to LA, I didn't know him, and he was like, a few $1 million in revenue, and I was like a couple $100,000, and we were just like two guys trying to figure it out. And to parallel our journeys, he's like 18 to, he's around 2 years ahead of us, and just to learn from him through, you know, fundraising money or doing influencer deals. Someone I can just call and be like, yo, bro, like, how did that go? And just, he's really saved us from making mistakes. And I think for me, from a direct to consumer standpoint, I've helped him like how to spend efficiently, and just having people that speak your same language and inspire you is so important, because this is a hard journey. Entrepreneurship's so hard. And really, if it wasn't for our relationship and other relationships, like there's no cuts. And I think it's even more important as we continue to grow and building that network, because there's going to be new challenges and new things that we don't know how to do. And that resourcefulness that it takes to be an entrepreneur and making new friends is probably the biggest thing to be a successful entrepreneur is, hey, yo, Mark, what do we got going this week?
Yeah, for me, it's a combination of reading, experiencing it myself, and then literally just, like one of my buddies, Anna, he owns the flower company, Venice at their floor, and it's literally, I'll be walking into a situation that he walked into 2 weeks ago, and I'll say, how did this play out? Where could you have gone differently? Stuff like that. So completely agree with that.
If Cuts weren't around, let's say Cuts tomorrow gone, what other like e-commerce product would you create?
I would, just learning from my buddy Brandon at Liquid IV, I'd want to create a consumable that you had to constantly use. My dad's in the Apple industry, and
that reoccurring revenue.
Yeah, reoccurring revenue.
Yeah.
Like something that people constantly need. Like when I sold apples.
You guys have a subscription model. I remember last time you were here, you guys didn't start it yet, but you were. It's
been like I get, it's our number one focus moving forward, because it's recurring revenue and creates that higher LTV, higher AOV, lifetime value, and average order value.
There you go.
Sorry, sometimes we speak in a different
We go on some high-level business intelligence here. Throw that data science in here.
But something you could consume that you could do reoccurring revenue in. I like something in with apples, because they last long enough, but not too long. And I think t-shirts kind of fit in that. Like after a year, you're going to want a new shirt, even if it's good. Yeah. So we can kind of fit in it, but not really. But someone.
You don't want to sell them on that though. Those
no.
Cuts clothing t-shirts last forever.
They last forever.
700 washes, they never go bad.
We do pre-wash them, and they should, last forever.
They do not shrink. They don't. I'd say 60% of the t-shirts that I actually like and wear, I don't put in the dryer, and you're one of the few that
shove it in.
That go into the dryer.
We say throw us through the gauntlet. If it doesn't work, I'll send you a new one.
Love it. So this was amazing, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Great value.
One last question for you guys that I have is dealing with, and we kind of were talking about this off camera. You don't have to name names, but talk about like when you start to have a little success and your ability to not get distracted. Kind of walk me through.
Yeah, that's
all the opportunities.
It actually had an opposite effect on me. I don't know if you can speak.
Yeah, Jeff is the one thing, among other things, that impresses me with him is he's got absolute laser focus. As you can tell with me, I'm literally thinking about not this interview right now. I'm just in another place all the time and thinking about the next move. Focus is my biggest problem. It's why I haven't been successful up until now. I think it's ironically enough, it's going back to what we just talked about, network. I said it before, Jake Kassan was the CEO of Movement. They just sold for 9 figures plus. He was one guy. Gary was huge yesterday. Gary Vaynerchuk's a partner of ours. He told us yesterday. I came to him with multiple ideas about 2 years ago. And at that point, we were like fairly credible. And he consistently just said, no, I'm focused on movement. Blake and Spencer, who are my buddies as well, would approach him with multiple ideas. And he just said, no, man, I'm focusing on the vision. So I think people just sorely underestimate, if you're going to put 20% of your time into something else, what's the real incremental value that you're going to get off that versus 10 to 20% of time in a brand that already is at this level. So it's really just,
I think it's important. It's like, it's almost like equity of your life. Like it's almost the same thing. Like all our lawyers, like keep all your work and keep all, like you're just handing out equity. You're handing out like 1% here, 1% here, 1% here. Now all of a sudden you don't, your focus is now only 30% on your big business, and you handed out all this other stuff. So
it's funny because Blake actually bought me a book about money. It's a Tony Robbins book. And I read it and I was like, fuck, man, I need to start teaching myself more about real estate. I had this money, I need to start investing it. And then I talked to my lawyer, shout out Goody, love him, best lawyer in the world. He's like, Mark, why are you going to invest 10% of your time into something that's going to get you a couple percent on your money? When if you put that 10% into Ikonick, look at the incremental growth you've had there.
It's insane. Yeah.
And then you know,
It's also has momentum. Like there's momentum there already.
Yeah.
There's no momentum on the ground floor yet. So
like imagine right now starting Cuts Clothing with 0 followers. It would be fun, but that would be fucking tough. Ooh.
I mean, just to get there.
Ooh.
I mean, we had to.
0 followers, zero sales.
and zero.
And yeah, like I want to, and I think that's where the $1 billion mindset, even it kind of sounds cheesy when I say it out loud, but it keeps us. All right, what's our focus? That's our focus.
Yep.
So and for the longest time, people were like, now we're going to do other products, but the first 2 years, I was like, let's just be the best in the world at one product, shirts, because focusing on all these other things, it's going to take us away from what we know how to sell.
Yep. Narrow focus. So where can they find you? Where can they find you personally, and then where can they find Cuts?
Unlike Mark, at Stephen Borrelli needs a lot of help on the follower game.
Yeah.
I got like less than 3,000.
Is it so? First things first. When you say that, when I say Mark Brazil, I say Mark with a K, Brazil with a Z. You have to clarify. Is it Stephen with a V or Stephen with a PH?
Stephen with the
That's
V.
your first thing right there.
Okay.
Let's clarify.
I'm getting lessons.
There you go.
over
Free
here.
lessons. So you should spell Borrelli too. That could be tricky. I suck at
So
spelling.
it's Stephen, Steven, and then Borrelli, 2 R's, 2 L's, Borrelli.
And what about Cuts?
Cutsclothing.com, CUTS clothing.
And then in the next month, actually today, what'd you drop today with Matt Como? Why don't you tell everybody about that?
Yeah, we just for about 8 months we've been working on this shirt collab with one of my good friends and an amazing videographer. He's done work with the Chainsmokers, with several artists for Michael Kors, tons of big brands, one of the best editors out there, and really producers now. He designed his own 2 shirts with us, both black, and one's short sleeve, one long sleeve, and it's just trendy enough, but not too trendy that most people can
I'm
get
sorry,
it.
but that'd be so funny if you did collabs with everyone, but like nothing changed. Like this is my shirt with Cuts Clothing, it's just black, and every time like they're just black.
Well,
but it's like every collab, like you like
Is it 2 different
anticipate like
fits?
a new collab.
it's a different
the
fit.
Same,
It is a
the
different
same
fit.
shirt.
No, the shirt is the same fit, but just short and long sleeve.
Interesting.
That'd be so.
It's
fun.
kind of I think you might like it more than, I'll send you one.
More than the one?
More than the one.
I
No, the box
like
cut
that.
is the Mark. So last time I was in here, we did a little video stuff.
Yeah.
Mark was wearing this like box fit shirt. I was like, yo, I need that. And then I texted you later.
Yep.
We sent it and we got it sampling. And I can't believe I didn't wear it today. But we got a couple samples and the production kind of slowed down. But we're launching it before Thanksgiving.
I hope
And
it's not
so
see-through because Mark's.
No, it's not see-through.
Yeah, Mark's blanks he was giving
This-
like you
this
can
fucking
see
guy.
like your nipples.
I
and
tried
shit.
building my own t-shirts.
Terrible.
I'll sign an exclusive deal. All black
I still have it.
t-shirts,
We can hang it
all-
up here. You can see
all
through
that,
the whole thing.
All that silhouette. I'll wear that every day. I'm trying to minimize. my
But you
decisions.
still like the box?
Yeah, I like it.
Mark's going to love this one.
I actually liked this t-shirt, and I told him how much I liked it, and they told me there was a hole in it, so fuck that. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Super excited. And yeah, follow Cuts Clothing. Check them out. Steven,
Love you guys.
thank you for having us.
Thanks, Steve.